right now. Yo, what if I got attacked by the clones? What if the builder think they found a better stone? What if the beat don't match with the metronome? What if that means you walk your path alone? Call me a vagabond. If all these streets leading to Rome, then wherever I lay is my home. It's Brooklyn, boy strong. I manifest, I'm in the zone. Y'all silly better back up off my throne. Listen, boy nice, better give him his propers. How we come out sane from all the mosh pits. How we found the key to the game without a locksmith. How we seem to manage these lanes is so obnoxious. He let it flow from the brain, trusting the process. A vet journeyman on multiple rosters. If I want it, I go out and get it and cop it. A monster with limitless options. Man, like goddamn, y'all gon' soon figure out who I am. We stay cooking, y'all used to that spam. Western beef, I might square up at the square dance. Look, I change plans, not even a southpaw, I'm an outlaw with a rare stance. Your crew never had a fair chance.
Why's that?
I kill a whole bear with my bare hands. Oh, they studied the dark? Well, I was raised in it. Brain shifted, the kid displayed insane physics. Best story never told, and it ain't finished. How we handled the rock, spun and kept the same pivot. I frame different, hot like a flame kitchen. A whole 2 levels out of your range gifted. Catch me on the highway, lane switching. Or right at the top of your bay wish list. It's Billy. Right now. It's Billy. What's going on, y'all? What up? It's Billy, season 2, How Billy Sees It. We here, we did it. It's December 11th, 2023. And I haven't been on and How Billy Sees It since August, it looks like. I looked at the joint. The last one was episode 59. And I was like, I think I opened it up for Ask Me Anything. And, I had a couple of questions. And I don't know, it just felt right. It just felt right to end the season at that point there. But, more recently, man, life. I hope everybody's well. I hope this video receives you and that you're feeling well. Or that you receive it and that you're feeling well. This has been a nutty year. There's so much going on. 2023, about to end it. Can't believe it. Another year down. I am now 41. I took a picture for this event that I'm doing later. A good friend of mine, Daniel Tutt, asked me to host this event for a book that he's written. So I'm excited for that. And I took a picture for it, and I got to the picture recently, I got to look at myself through this picture. And really, it just hit me like, man, look at this scruffy beard. I'm using the picture actually on the cover for this right now. So you can see kind of the update from season 2 using a different picture. I'm sorry, from season 1. And I was like, let me shave or do something different. I was like, you know what? No, let me just let it rock. Maybe this is what I look like. Whatever I'm looking at that it's like, oh, I need to do something different. Maybe that's what it is. And it's okay. And it's more than okay, yo. It feels good, man. I feel great right now. This is the physical. What you're seeing is a physical, representation of a real chill inner experience that, I do what I can, but just let it rock. It's so funny that I can even do this, but I'm just letting it go, man. Shit is wild, It's December. What's been new? Music. I started with the show with some music. Yeah, you have the same. I'm thinking about maybe switching it up, having a different opening song for season 2. But so far that works. I'm gonna leave that going. I did some new music. We got Perspective that came out in October. It came out right around my birthday, and I worked on it, man, for about 2 weeks, and just like this thing I'm really proud of came out of that. And I've been getting a lot of love, actually from people that I respect too musically, like people who are like lyric heads and people who care about hip hop storytelling, you know, uh, dope feedback. I was like, yo, this is dope. Really encouraging. Something I already knew. I knew it was dope, but to hear it from these people in particular, um, feels good. So I'm gonna keep going with that. Very excited about that. Keep building and making taking some risks with music. Um, around my birthday, Sheba says, yeah, switch it up for season 2. The people need to hear the new stuff. That's facts. I'm gonna play that song Perspective actually at the end, real quick, right at the end, to lead us out. But right around my birthday, we did a recording with the podcast Tune the Fork, which is a very important and very dope podcast. Black owned, black operated, brilliantly owned, brilliantly operated. A very smart brother named James Shelby does that podcast, and he talks about a broad range of things. And I always appreciate the guests and the topics he has on there and the depth of the conversation. But he had me and Sheba on there to talk about our relationships. He wanted to talk about non-monogamy, and so we went on and we had a good time, man. It was great. It's so interesting how I was able to notice myself, man, because sometimes you know, I have different things that come out, you know, and for that interview, I definitely fell back and I was like really chill. It was sort of an I did that podcast before, and Sheba was on there for the first time, and it was so great to watch her be herself and be nutty and clash with James, always in a fun way. But it was so interesting, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many moments in the last couple of years, but definitely last couple of months, of just noticing myself. And that's something I've gotten really, really good at, yo, is being still and noticing myself and accepting myself. The goal has been frequently to notice something and then find a way to incorporate it as a truth, especially if I agree with it, if it agrees with who I want to be, or what I want to be, or where I want to go. If it agrees with like the fullness of what I am, I accept. And then the things that I say won't agree, I'm gonna pay attention to, and I'm going, I can change things, I can adjust, I can notice how I move and get better through an appreciation for that, for that awareness. You know what I mean? So what did I notice about myself? Sheba says, I noticed that I shrink, I noticed, when I say shrink, I mean I choose to avoid certain topics, specifically this one, non-monogamy, talking publicly about my sex and dating life is something I don't do a lot. I'll go forever and talk about politics. I'll talk about religion and philosophy, and talk about all kinds of topics and third rail issues and things, but the personal gets me weird. And I know it was just interesting to watch. But it's so weird because it's not where I'm at is not like, it's not a, you know what I noticed? It's a shame thing. It's a sense of shame, and it's a weird shame because I don't feel shame about the nature of my relationship with my wife or with any of my relationships, the nature of our marriage and non-monogamy. But I have internalized this thing about humility, and I have internalized this sense of like, when I think about the fullness of who I want to be and how I want to present, it includes people like, and I was trying to explain, it was interesting to talk to Sheba about this and sort of tease this out. It includes people like, Martin Luther King Jr., it includes people like Malcolm X, and includes people who were, they were full people, but, they presented with a kind of professionalism and a tightness. This is a different era. This is a time where people are like, I don't know. I think the key is to show the fullness. Is to you don't have to present as this like super tight pastor or something like this. Like, and in fact, that kind of stuff limits our understanding. People don't really seem to understand who Martin Luther King was, or who Malcolm X was, or Rosa Parks and these people. we reduced them to these singular moments. We reduced them to the work they did in their activism. We reduced them to the words that they spoke and the risks that they took. And those things are important, and that's why we highlight them. But who they were was much greater than that. And that's dope, and that's okay. It's similar to the other thing. It's okay. This constant like acceptance. So that was interesting. It was also interesting just to talk about non-monogamy in that setting. Put us in a, we talk about it, but we don't get inquired about it so much the way that he did. I think on some level he was talking to us, just having a conversation, but he was also inquiring with like, what's going on? With probably without his own, he can't avoid bringing his own biases and like judgments to the questions about what is this, and so questions were framed in a way that put us in a position to talk differently, and it was pretty cool actually. Let's see. Sheba says, "LOL, ladies love Cool B. No need to run from the truth of who you are. You have nothing to hide. Maybe their performance presentation limited their effectiveness." I think that's possibly true, yo. I'm thinking about the way things work and the way I understand the world to work. This notion of separation, I did a video about this. This notion of separation, it's very subtle. We do these separations in the world and to ourselves through our narrative stories and our identities, and we need to lean towards an acceptance. We need to lean towards the oneness. We need to lean towards showing that the beauty of life is, it works in tandem with whatever we're calling ugly. You know what I mean? Like that each person is a full and complex thing, and each institution is full and complex, and that way we can talk seriously about what's going on instead of like having these simplistic conversations. We miss the texture and the complexity of what's happening when we reduce things, and we get to we miss out on complexity. The thing with the non-monogamy though, in that conversation we had with James was helpful for me in particular, and I talked with Sheba about this after, because it was helpful to frame it and to understand that for us, like it seemed like his questions felt as though like non-monogamy was this like central tenet of what we do and who we are. And it was interesting to try to like parse out that like it's important. It's something that we do and care about. It's an important part of how we operate, and yet it's not central. It's like it's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of our central foundation, which is like the desire to constantly be engaged in a process of agreement, right? A complex process of agreement about who we are as individuals. We're always growing and changing and evolving, and this ability to accept that and to meet each other and to update our awareness of each other always, and to allow for that. And so we've been lucky enough to do that from the very start. A lot of times, I remember like when you're dating, it feels, especially in a monogamous, like if the goal is monogamy, if the goal is marriage, the two people are trying to demonstrate, especially women, are trying to demonstrate their willingness and their capacity to lock it down, and their willingness to be small, their willingness to fit into an archetype, right, of a kind, right? If you're a Christian husband, to be that, and you demonstrate that. You say the words that you're showing them that, yeah, I could be, consider me for this. And I feel like what we were doing, Sheba and I, early on, was like showing our desire, like how big we were, and like saying, hey, because I certainly was. I was, like I said, I wasn't trying to be locked down in any relationship at all. Even that language there, locked down, the way we talk about relationships, locked down, that as though it needs to be that way. I grew up with the ball and chain concept for the wife. This is not small. These kinds of ways that we talk about relationships, it builds narratives in our minds and expectations for what things should be or could be. And so we started off like, I was like, yo, I'm actually seeing this lesbian couple. I'm actually seeing this lady over here, and there's three people, and I'm very happy to see you, but I'm out and doing my thing. She was like, yeah, I'm traveling, and yeah, how are you with group situations and sex? And we were just like, trying to be as honest as we possibly could, and to push back against all those archetypes and all those expectations. You know what I mean? Say, look, don't quite expect me to be that. And one of the things we agreed on early on was non-monogamy. And every month we update our understanding, and then this thing never left the table. Non-monogamy is just a byproduct of something. It's just a word. But as we said in that interview, we're always, we spend probably 99% of our time together, and it's just a good look. And it's a fluid yes to all this. I said, what are your thoughts on gangbangs and group sex? Oh, well, yes. You're so amazing and healing, it would be a crime not to share you with the world. Thank you, baby. The thing with that is that I think it's a beautiful thing. It's been an interesting process. It's a beautiful, interesting process. I feel so lucky. I tell her sometimes I think I don't know how it happened. I don't understand the fullness of this experience and the universe and God, but somehow I made Sheba, yo. Somehow these attributes that I thought weren't possible all in one person, and that I stated, I was pretty clear that I wanted everything, from her intelligence, her beauty, her creativity, her she's soft, her supportive nature, her stability. I think of the two of us, I think I'm the chiller person. That's a kind of stability. Sheba brings different kinds of stability. She's also crazy, and this is it's like crazy in a good way, right? Like she's fiery. She gets pissed off at stuff, and she reminds me of myself in this way. And it's been interesting over the last couple of months to see these things in her, and to accept them, and to understand, because I've accepted myself and I've accepted my quirky stuff and my idiosyncrasies and my fears and anxieties. I keep learning more about them, and I keep accepting them, and this gives me the freedom and the space to notice hers, and to frame whatever I'm seeing in a context of whatever I'm seeing with her, in the context of like her complex thing, whatever, because I know that I'm the product of a whole bunch of childhood stories and narratives and traumas and experiences and assumptions and values taught, learned, and that she's the same thing. And so what comes from that, what has come from that for us is non-monogamy, but it's just not that includes that. And I'm so happy for it. The challenge with this kind of framework is the other archetype thing I was talking about being like the good Christian husband. This is a simpler thing, if you ask me. There's like, people can refer to texts in the Bible, or ask your pastor, or there's a whole kind of sort of performance of good Christian husband. And like, people perform it to the degree they can, to the degree they want to. They perform it as long as they need to, you know what I'm saying? Until they out here doing whatever, cheating and living life however they wish. But that performance exists, and it's this target that the men can aim towards and to perform. Women have their version of it. The good Christian wife has something that she should aim towards. And the way it's framed is like, this is all towards God. And I understand, like, that framing has a, it's kind of, it feels better, but we're talking about like performance archetypes. You know what I mean? Like, what Sheba and I end up doing is something that's a moving target, and it's weird, and it's I think the beauty is in that thankfully at no point, at least not yet, does someone show up at the meeting and they're completely different person, and they want to actually join the circus, and like, let's just do this whole thing, but like, we do give that kind of room to be ourselves and to accept each other. There's so many elements and facets to Sheba that I've had to recontextualize. You know what I mean? Like, there are things about Sheba's energy that at first I received as masculine and thereby negative. Sadly, a lot of the things that I called masculine, these are things about just like assertiveness. These are things that are just like about, she wants to win an argument. She wants to win an argument. She's confident. She believes in herself. But the thing is that I do the same thing, and I'm also that. And one of the things that I didn't think would be possible to have in this amazing, beautiful, creative, smart body would also be someone who's passionate, And so Sheba recently, recently we're in the middle of a real crisis in the Middle East right now. A heinous genocide is occurring in Gaza, and potential larger war being played out in front of us. Obviously, there's several crises happening in different parts of the world, but Sheba has been animated very much by the Gaza crisis, as I think a lot of people should. I think more people should be very much animated by this. But for us, for me, it's not only the international relations aspect of it. I have a background in international relations and ethics. The conflict is something I've studied. I've never been there. Something I've read about and examined for a long time. And what happened on October 7th was such a violent act that needs to be put in the proper context in order to give it the proper condemnation, and in order to make sure that what happens next is just and appropriate. And so, with my background in the media, to see what happened on October 7th and to see the immediate pouring out of emotion and support and love for the victims of that day, and then to immediately see how like the Likud party and Netanyahu, empowered by an angry media, an angry, like, insane politics, started to talk about revenge and retaliation, started to talk about flattening the pace. We got what Nikki Haley here in the US says, flatten the place on Fox News, on CNN, on cable news. There's so many quotes from people in the Knesset. People are learning more and more about the politics of Israel inside Israel, while over here in our experience, we have a media that kind of does a wall-to-wall support for Israel, really frames things entirely within a favorable framework for Israel to deem itself as a sort of a victim, an innocent victim, really shrinks context down on behalf of the country. In Israel, there's a deeper conversation. In Israel, there's, people have long known that this is a right-wing party. Whatever we think about Donald Trump, Netanyahu is something worse than this, obviously. And yet people really struggle. People really struggle to parse this out. My experience with the media has put me in a position, and my experience with, the media and linguistics, the work in looking at how we, and propaganda, how we communicate, we see this like effort, this real concerted, powerful effort to talk about this subject in a very specific way. And the Congress just passed some sort of resolution. I know it doesn't mean much except that it's there, except that it's passed, it's put in the books, that tries to equate Zionism, or tries to equate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. What a malicious thing to do. What a harmful thing to do. The people doing this, the people proposing these kinds of bills or these kinds of resolutions in Congress, the people trying to use language this way, they know better. They know better. People know that Zionism is a political project and concept. And the concept of anti-Semitism has to do with an irrational, idiotic hatred of an ethnic group and religious ethnic group. Right? But the last couple weeks have just been insane watching the discourse. And this is exactly why I left a place like CNN, because this topic, this most recent thing just exposes so much, but this has been there. There's just a constant underlying bullshit conversation. It's so crazy. The gaslighting, the use of language and misuse of language. So we're supposed to believe that critique of a nation state equals critique of a people, when we already know that that's not the case. That's not how we do it. We already know that critique of political policy and nation states and political leaders equals critique. They're trying to make it seem as though it's equal to hatred of a people. And they're leaning very much into the historical suffering and of this people of Jews. It's hiding it's human shields, actually. The IDF, the right-wing Zionists operate this way. And in an effort to not let us have the conversation, about what's happening on the ground, what's happening in reality, about the preservation of human life, about a fair and just critique about policy, about occupation, about open air prisons, about apartheid, about settler colonialism, about settlers in the West Bank, about Bibi Netanyahu. Instead of letting us have that conversation, there's this massive effort to conflate and to mix things. It's very dangerous stuff. It's actually not a game. It's very dangerous stuff. Sheba says nothing more anti-Semitic than to tie the racist concept of Zionism and the genocidal project of Israel to Judaism. Exactly. Judaism has nothing to do with that. That's why there are so many rabbis and people in the rabbinical faith who make that point very clear, and who spend some time sort of protesting and making that distance clear. And it's tough because I'm seeing like it's tough for people to make that distinction. People want, if you have an emotional attachment, if you have an investment identity-wise to a plot of land, to a government, to an idea, then it's hard to point to what is actually, rather than the idea, rather than the idealistic idea. And it's just crazy. That's the rundown, very quickly, incomplete in terms of my thoughts about what's going on in Gaza at the moment. The propaganda has been insane. When I say propaganda, I simply mean the effort to change minds, the effort to tell a story that changes minds. And I want to make a distinction between propaganda, which is all around us all the time, and this thing called journalism, which is supposed to be an expression of the truth. It's an effort to point towards the truth. What is the truth? The truth is a complex thing. And the first thing a journalist has to understand, I've done this in the last season, I'm going to just reiterate this real quick because it's major key. The first thing a journalist has to understand is that they're limited in their perspective, and that they should try their best to marshal their language in a way that can be mapped onto the complexity of reality. And I also want to add, I think there needs to be a commitment to humanism, right? If it's grounded in anything, there has to be a humanist ethic, not national ethic, not a national commitment, not a militaristic commitment, not a commitment to, you know what I'm saying, advertising dollars, a commitment to humans. That's what it is. That's the tension. And you see some journalists talk about this and are clear about this and are really helping us usher in what has to be the next phase of journalism for us, which is something more grassroots, which is, you know, we all have this capacity now to reach. We're all small media organizations, and to kind of like deal with that. So that this is the framework that I've been coming at the moment with Palestine, and Sheba has been coming at it also with her own energy and her own perspective and her own passion, and her own, you know, way of approaching things. And what's been interesting is to like what's been interesting is that the she's willing to make things uncomfortable, you know, which is a really powerful thing that Sheba does, which is so necessary. I know that that's necessary. I'm able to do that myself. I find my arenas to do that. I urge everyone to kind of find their arenas, because guess what? The comforts are part and parcel with the horrors, you know, the inability to look at something clearly and communicate it and experience it, deal with it, is part and parcel with the other stuff. It creates its own problems, this sort of failure to deal with things. And I always find myself, you know, like I said, my angle is the media. This is the work that I've done. This is my area of expertise, you know. And to watch Sheba approach her comedy and say, I'm going to solve the Israel-Palestine issue in her comedy, it's fantastic. She's been at it. In her comedy, she's just keeping it 300, keeping it a buck. She's been doing it every Tuesday. I've been so lucky to watch her progression as she's like figuring this set out that she has. She also sometimes goes just without a set. She just kind of riffs it and does her thing and works with the audience. She's super talented like that. If you follow Sheba on social media, you also know she's been posting quite a lot about Palestine, about the history of Palestine, about the IOF, about the IDF, about U.S. policy, about this particular genocide and ethnic cleansing that's going on. She's been posting. And again, there's opportunities there for me to watch as how I respond to her energy and her passion, you know. it's been dope. It's been dope to watch, to see, and then we meet and we talk and we learn from each other, man. And I'm so lucky to have a partner like that. And I know it's a rare thing. I know a lot of people don't have it. But even like her family, like Sheba's been having some challenges with her family in this way. She's asked people around her to post about Palestine. We have a lot of people around us who will agree with what is obvious about the violence in Palestine, and wanting to see an end to that. Um, and so we have these conversations, and people are willing to do it in private. And Sheba knows, and especially if you look at the posts that she's found from people on the ground, they're asking quite often for us to help change the narrative, for us to speak about what they're doing, to show solidarity, to show that um, there's large swaths of people who care, you know. Um, and Sheba's been putting a line in the sand. She's been saying, "Yo, I need you to do this. I want you to post." At first, it was a question. First, it'd be just a question. First, it'd be, "Hey, could you show some solidarity for Palestine?" And then afterwards, it would build. And this is, to me, um, oftentimes when I think about it, I'm like, you can't ask people to do something they don't want to do. But no, of course you can. And we're asked to do it all the time, you know? Um, what I found is, like, you know, in my family, even, like, we don't always have the space. It feels like there's always these crises in my family, my biological family. There's these, like, things going on, and so that we there's always this tension to even talk. So we don't take on stuff like this. We don't, like, engage in these kinds of conflicts, let's say, with each other, for fear of some, like, bigger thing. But Sheba has the strength and the foundation in her family to know that she can make these asks of people, and to test, like, what it means to be connected to Sheba. I hope I'm making sense there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. She's like, her passion is warranted and needed, and her commitment to just pressing forward a little bit is so important and so needed. Just pressing, changing the pattern a little bit, making things a little bit different, making people have a conversation that they rather wouldn't want, you know? I think we sometimes don't understand just how powerful that is. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years in particular about that power, about simply stepping forward into the thing that you know and that you want, the thing that makes sense, the thing that's missing, and to be it, and, like, let the tension and the stuff that comes from that be, and what comes after that has to be better. It has to be, you know. And there's a faith thing in that. There's something with, relation of faith on that, stepping out on that. She believes, she's faithful. She believes in herself. She believes in her notion of the good, and I do too. And as being around and watching these tensions, not just with, like, her family, but with her friends, other friends, and with, like, even work related stuff. It just blows my mind. I'm lacking in words because I don't know why I'm lacking in words. But I'm reminded of, like, who I wanted a long time ago, who I thought wasn't possible. And Sheba is an interesting manifestation of that, and that includes all of this stuff that she is. And I think about when I was leaving CNN, and I told her that I was ready to go. I had to get out of there, and I'm making good money at this place, and it's a place that people respect, and people respect you when you work at CNN. It's nuts. One time I was on the train, and this guy had my CNN chain on, and this guy walks over and he goes, "You work at CNN?" And I was like, "You don't know where that's gonna go. You don't necessarily know if it's fake news or if it's gonna be whatever." I go, "Yeah," and I put it in here. He puts his hand out. "Sir, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing, saving us from Donald Trump, and I appreciate the work. Please tell Anderson I said hi." It's like ridiculous. I'm like, how do I even begin to get into what I think is going on and my critique? I don't have the time. Just shake his hand. I said, "Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks very much." There's lots of little instances like that. The respect that is garnered from a position in an institution like CNN, and the money and the income and the stability. And when I said that I couldn't work there, and I started to talk to her about what I felt, and I started to create from that. I started to write what I felt. I started to create animations about what I felt. I started to do this at every step of the way. This crazy ass girl kept saying, "Wow, yeah, great, I understand. Yeah, well, I support you. Do it. Go, try it. Why not?" And that has been a staple, and it's gotten me to this place. And it's just a good look, and I support her, and I support her comedy, and I want her to know that I support her writing. She's great, her skills. I support her stage presence and her creativity. That's why we're doing Couples Goals, by the way. Y'all should check that out. On this channel, Couples Goals. We just did episode 4. You just see my baby on as the host on Couples Goals, how great she does, and it's so much fun. We just get on there for a half hour with different couples and play games. It's great. But I support her political passion. I support the fact that she has it. That she even has it. That she's a real one like that. That she sees an injustice and that she's brave enough to call it out. And she's brave enough to do the research and to sit deeply with it and to sort of wonder her role in things and to organize and to say we're going to be present at protests and we're going to organize and meet with other people and fulfill the requests made from Palestinian people on the ground who said, "Hey, share our videos, share our story. Make sure we're not presented as animals. Make sure we're not presented as people who are deserving of this monstrous fate." She's down. So we're navigating that together. And I thought for a long time that I would have to, if anything, I would either have to tamp down my political sense or it would be, or I'm going through a challenge with someone, you know what I mean? Who'd be like, "Oh, these kinds of things, you want to stay out of it. You kind of want to stay out of it." This is the mother of the stay out of it conflicts, by the way, right? Everybody stays out of this one. It's too complex. It's too this and that. The girl has mental clarity, moral clarity. What? Moral clarity, son. Put that down. And a fat booty. And a beautiful, beautiful face. And she's hilarious. Bing. So like as I was trying to come up with what to talk about today, I how to come out, how to talk about it. I knew it would be a whole bunch of stuff because it's been a minute. I haven't been on here in several months, but I knew I wanted to kind of weave something about like acceptance, accepting self, about Sheba and our journey, non-monogamy. You know, that's my life right now. That's what's going on right now. Working, things are popping. Working different projects, different clients, and also working on projects of our own, couples goals. Got some cartoons I want to do, some more music, like I said. I'm working with an organization to bring some attention to Western Sahara, which is another occupation in this world. As we talk about, you see people talking about the Palestine and Gaza occupation. You see there's been greater awareness around Congo. And Western Sahara is an important one. Western Sahara is the last occupation, Western Sahara is the last colonial occupation in continental Africa, the last colony in Africa. And it's colonized and occupied by Morocco after a land dispute in the 70s, dealing with Spain, and it's just all colonial stuff, European colonialization, just carving up Africa and leaving when it's convenient, and leaving the political gaps and causing problems. And now the Sahrawi people of Western Sahara are in a struggle for their independence from occupying neighboring Morocco. And so that's another one that is on the radar and that we're dealing with, and we're trying to get some awareness around, everything's nuts, life is wild, It's important to pull back sometimes, because if you're watching CNN, you're watching cable news, you'll get this steady drumbeat of like, oh, Donald Trump, oh, here's a tweet from whatever, and here's some silly shit that Lauren Boebert is doing. Like it's character stuff. There's so many characters in Congress, and so many characters running for president and all this stuff, that you can get content, lots of content, just on examining little beefs between characters. But when you pull out, you get the opportunity to see that we're all part of this massive organism, for lack of a better word, maybe, this universe, this world, our societies, our country, the countries that we're in, that these are all words and labels that have carved up a broader infinite that is one gelatinous thing. It is one thing, but that it's been carved up in all these different ways, for all these different reasons, all throughout different history, different political factions and groups. We have a sense of the history. We have our history books tell us something, but I'm pretty sure, and we're learning just the way media works and the way language works, we're learning that the truth and the texture of what has gone on in history that brought us to this moment, that it's something way deeper and way more complex even than what we think we know. I've been playing with this theory about language, that language is this incredible technology that gives us the opportunity to tell a narrative. And to tell stories. And what's required in that are these different labels, these different words. And so if I want to tell a story about what's going on the continent of North America, it's beneficial for me to be able to have the word Mexico, United States, Canada, to have those three words at the very least. I can tell something like an interesting story. But we already know that it's one contiguous landmass, right? That story, it is language and politics that create these words. There is no difference between those land masses. There's no difference between the water in the Pacific Ocean and the water in the Atlantic Ocean. There's no difference between Sheba and I. There's no difference between me and you, listener, the person, whoever you are listening to this. When you get down into the subatomic level and we talk about quantum physics, further and further people understand that we're all made of the same stuff, the same cosmic dust, the same exploded stars and cosmic dust somehow formed and coagulated and formed, single cell organisms and then built the entire vast complexity of sentient life that we understand on this planet, including humans, but not exclusively humans, all of it, that it's all one thing. I think that language is so interesting because it's like when we're talking about the earth, let's say, I'm gonna get into some weird theory here, guy. It's not weird, this is facts. This is actually what is, yo. Alright? I need to step into like a realness about what I'm saying. This is what language does. When I tell you a story about what I did today, I'll tell you a whole bunch of stories. I'll say, Billy did, I got up, I brushed my teeth, I did some stuff on the computer, I played Overwatch, I cooked breakfast. And all those words help me tell a story. They're necessary for me to tell an interesting story. I could have also said that I could have made a different sentence and it would also be true. It would be a simple sentence, right? If I remove all those words, I say Billy billied. I did my thing. Billy was billying all day. It'd be also that'd be a true sentence. Sheba was Sheba-ing. I could go into the details about what Sheba did today, or I could tell you, yeah, Sheba was Sheba-ing today. And I know that sounds a little funny. It could sound funny, but in truth, but think about it. If we take it out, it's not people. We say like a plant. If you have a plant at home, what did your plant do? Your plant did your plant. Your plant was doing what your plant does. Or if you have a dog or something, you might say your dog does what your dog does. It would be a true sentence. And so one of the things about language is when I think about the media, the news media, their goal is to put words on a page. Their goal is to say words and create content with words and to tell stories. And not just stories, not just any stories, boring stories, compelling stories, stories that have tension. They're only looking over there because there's tension. If there was no tension, you notice they don't do a lot of stories of just like everybody's just chilling. Everybody, hey, look over here in Philadelphia, a bunch of kids are just chilling. They do that a couple of times, but the meat of it, the stuff that seems to get people's attention going, the stuff that sells papers, the stuff that gets clicks, is tension. So they're incentivized to tell stories and to use language in that way, and to lean into the separations. Because I could just say like I hope people are following me here. This is all related. I mean, it's related. Israel, Palestine. It's all related. It's the words we use, the storytelling, as a device, requires that you talk in a way that solidifies and legitimizes the differences, which is why they say the left and the right are talking. There's a whole complex thing going on in someone, Ben Shapiro, for instance, the idiot, the asshole Ben Shapiro will say, the left, the right. You know, it's like that's not a that's language being used for a purpose. That's language being used for the purpose of separation. I find that I like talking on this stuff. This is one of the reasons I want to get back on here. It helps me tease some of these ideas out further. Real talk, man. So it's been super cathartic, and I can feel it again here. That I'm in a terrain that I think there isn't much language about. There's very few things I can point to, but I'm trying to point to a feature of what is that that's helped me learn about myself, and it's helped me contextualize this whole experience, you know. Sheba says, yes, you have to define main characters, i.e. the left. And the main character needs a villain, i.e. the right. And what I want to point to is that in truth, what is. The earth is earthing. I am Billying. Billy is Billying. People are peopling. People are experiencing and sharing love with each other and also harming each other. People are expressing confusion. They're expressing joy. They have their bits of focus, and they're doing stuff. And the fullness of it is what it is. But the requirement of narrative produces the requirement of tension. Words, labels, measurements. I want to tell a story about this. I'm on a thread with some buddies of mine from high school who are all my age. I'm 40, so they're like 40, 41, 43, some of them. And some of them are CEOs and VPs of companies, and they're doing well for themselves. And often we share pictures of chicks, thoughts on Instagram, who are twerking and doing their thing, getting clicks, shaking their butt, being sexually suggestive, all that. And we shared this one picture, this one chick, and she had she's a beautiful girl. Oh, she's a wrestler. She was actually a WWE wrestler. I forget her name. Black girl, what's her name? Really sexy, really cute chick, yo. And one of the early comments immediately was like, oh my God, she has man shoulders, right? And this is something like, I would hear stuff like this all the time growing up. This kind of, you know, she has man shoulders. She works out. She was a wrestler, but she was feminine. She's a feminine person. She was who she is. She's gorgeous. She was confident. She was fit. She worked hard for that body. Her body looked good. But she was immediately classified. One of the first comments, which then frames it for everyone else, is that she has man shoulders. And it struck me now that I'm 41, I have the context and the awareness to notice that we create tension this way. This desire to comment with some sort of snappy thing, it creates tension. Like, she is who she is. She doesn't have man shoulders. She has her shoulders, obviously. Those are the shoulders she was given, and it has what are the features of shoulders? There are muscles in there, and if you work on them, you can create muscular shoulders. And if you have a shoulder injury, it can be a shoulder injury. Like and you can have a skinny shoulder. You can but the desire to label, the desire to measure, measurement is something. The desire to measure and compare something against something else, to frame it against something else, is such a crazy thing. Framing it against something else helps us understand it if we accept that framing, you know? But I think a feature of this reality is that there is more peace that's available to us when we let go of measurement. We let go of labels this way. Labels and measurement to me are tangential. They're similar processes. Um, Time, we already know how much stress time can create. The idea of it, not time as what it is. Time moves. It's what it is. It's there. You can't control it. It just keeps going. It keeps rolling. But the idea of it, awareness of it. If I told you had 10 seconds to blah, blah, leave the room, that concept of it produces an experience in and of itself, conceptually, for the person who has accepted the words and the concept. The labels, like I said, man shoulders. We do this to men, quite often. Like a dude who's gonna say that about a woman, probably like a shorter dude. Men are always taught, like men have to deal with this like masculine thing about being taller. All men want to be 6 feet or above. And it creates a tension, and the dudes who aren't that, including myself, I had years where that was a big preoccupation for me. Tried to find ways, used to hang and try to find ways to make myself taller. I would hang from the monkey bars and stuff like this. Try to max out my spine. We do this thing with language that allows us to tell a story about ourselves and about the world. And we have to find a way to also recognize that we're doing it so that we can come back to what is real, which is something without these measurements. The measurements themselves create tension. The language itself invents tension, and I'm seeing that with some of the propaganda at the moment, actually. I mean, ways of talking about our experience just to get a rise, just to accentuate difference. That stuff is real, and it's legal. It's not something we can try to get some involvement to stop. People have the right to engage this way, to use words this way. I believe in free speech. I believe in it. I think there's value to it. I think that we have to be aware of how we're using it, and I think that there's some people, when we can identify people who are using it maliciously, that we at least identify that and we call that out. We're able to say that. We're able to see that clearly. But I think it all comes back to this broader thing about letting go and being present without the need for measurement, self-measurement, measuring other things, comparing, contrasting. I think that's super key. And that's the episode, man. I think that's the episode. That was all over the place, huh? Yeah. Who cares? The tension there too. The tension as you do this show, this idea about what it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to look. I gotta say the right thing, gotta be ready, but I don't know, man. Fuck it. Oh, lost the light. I realize how many people are willing to be loud and wrong publicly, willing to take that risk and to speak and to say their wrong-headed, stupid, racist, nonsense truth, their constricted truth. I at least can, speak up and say my truth. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing for any of us to be afraid of, you know? Um, I've learned that through this process since leaving that job. And I've learned that through the process of being married to Sheba Newman Blunt. And her manifestation of that truth and how she presses into it is different from the way that I do. And I've learned about myself through myself having to engage with her and her fullness and who she is. I've learned about myself as I've noticed the tensions that I have when Sheba takes the stage to talk about our personal relationship, or when she takes a very public position on a very controversial political issue. My desire to try to have some control, and I have some controls. I have the I spend so much time with her. I speak to her. We get to communicate, and we get to exchange ideas and like figure it out together. And she's a real one, and she's very smart. So the lesson has been for me in this arena to like let go of control there too, to let go of like I said, sometimes we do stuff on camera and I was like, oh, what do I look like as the masculine guy? You know, how should I respond to something that my wife is saying? Let go of all of it. This is work I'm still doing, you know, but getting on here is helpful to like get comfortable with that, and be present, you know. I'm going to talk more about measurements and labels and separations going forward, because I think there's something really key here. I think with this we can kind of build the language on it, because there's something more I want to say, but I just don't know exactly how to say it yet, if I'm real about it. But that through this stuff, through these narratives, yo, we each experience the world extremely differently. Extremely differently. We don't have the texture in our language or in our understanding and our awareness to properly like point to this, the ways that you and I have constructed the world differently, and the subtlety of it, the subtle ways in terms of our understanding of like where we can press in, our sensitivities, our political sensitivities, our sense of our power. I'm really interested in finding unifying language that ties us back and reminds us back again to the fact that we're all one, and it's all one thing. We're more powerful than we know. The things that are right now are the constructions of not just political violence, not just power and white supremacy, these words that we use, but also like there's just voids. There's voids that are available because we don't press in. There are places that are gaps that are being filled by asshole interests, and we need to arrive at a place that gives us the freedom to fill those gaps. Not on a duty. Like, I think you have to kind of like, duty is one way to think about it. I'm thinking like it's just an acceptance of what is, you know? I think that it comes naturally through an acceptance of what is. That's it, yo. First episode of season 2, How Billy Sees It. Thank you for watching. Until next time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave you with my new joint called Perspective, and take it easy, y'all. Peace. running around. I heard some shit. Hey, yo, what happened, man? Yo, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What's all this? People running around. I heard some shit happened. Something went down over by the. Yo, what happened, son?
So one kid got knocked out, saw fucked up like a boxed house, locked doors, windows blocked out. One punch, these tough images cropped out. Flip the kill switch, and all that chill shit, they knocked out. These dudes got a short fuse like a thought blouse, locked in deaf to them stop shouts. Niggas the type to shoot first, all questions crossed out. Now little buddy slept bloodied in snot mouth.
Where was y'all at, though?
Right on the corner by the old food truck, cold. They took his chains and boots off, socks out. Head hit like face first, blood on his stained shirt. His wallet whipped out, that's pay dirt. And quickly picked up by the same perk. People's phones out, now they filming in frame burst. Whole scene sucks, but it's way worse. Little kids watching, now they cursed. Cycles that we live in, it's absurd, I'm saying.
Every day, just another day. Every single day, just another day. Every day, just another day. Every single day, just another day.
Then a flare spark, light up. Right there, see the whole thing different. Full view, T, no shade visual. Listen, look again, breathe, rotate, pivotal. I figure these just words y'all gon' take literal. I've rocked out mineral. Who wants some bullshit? Minimal. Y'all clowns gon' need prayers after I kill a few. My skills damaging, right down to the ego shattering. You probably not real if you're not a fan of us. I shoot from deep hit, free throw average. I'm stress free. Yes, please, we blow cannabis like Gretzky. I triple check these old analysts. The game's slow, y'all drag on, I dethrone Lannisters. They repo, but it's light work, I'm reprogramming it. Zoom lens got 3 whole cameras. Life bitchy cause you suck, probably you can't handle it. We fucking, you looking through a peephole, amateur.